Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the top cons, or just some cons to think about, some negatives of living at Lake of the Ozarks. Let's check it out. All right, guys, welcome back. Hey, hopping right into it, right? We're talking about some negatives or some cons or just some things to think about when moving to or relocating at Lake of the Ozarks. I've talked about it before, so these are in no particular order, but I'm gonna hit you right off the bat with bugs. Okay, so I've talked about it plenty of times on this channel, and it's just something for you to think about, consider, or at least just expect when you come down here, right? At the end of the day, we're in the middle of the woods, right? So with woods comes nature, comes bugs, so creepy crawlies. You are going to have that when you're down here. So spiders, flies, gnats, skeeters, June bugs, horse flies, all kinds of stuff, right? But that comes with the territory, right? You need to expect that. If you're used to it, great. Sometimes people come down and they're maybe not used to it. The only part that really bugs me about bugs.
Wait a minute.
That was funny. The only part that bugs me about bugs are these little like gnats that come out at night. They fly around, they hang around the light fixtures, they hang around your property, and then they die. It's like they're born, they hang out for a night, and then they're dead. So you wake up in the morning, and you come out onto your back deck, and you just have all of these dead gnats all over the place. Or you go down to your dock, and you have dead gnats all over the place down there. So I gotta figure out what that's all about, but it's super annoying, right? You gotta get up, you take your leaf blower, and you blow them all off the deck, and you clean it up a little bit, and you get ready for the day, but I don't know, just annoying. But outside of those, yeah, you're gonna have them, right? You're gonna have some spiders, some flies, some horse flies. You're gonna have some bugs and some cobwebs and some things to deal with when you are down here, right? Because again, at the end of the day, you are in the woods, you're in nature. It goes into probably the second con that we're gonna talk about, which is location. But understand when you're here, bugs are gonna be a thing, but you can mitigate them. So find a bug guy, call me. I got a bug guy. He'll come out and he'll spray your property once a month. He can put some essential oils on your dock that will help mitigate them as best you can. But at the end of the day, we were surprised a little bit by it. I don't want you to be surprised by it, but when you're down here, bugs are gonna be a thing. Okay, so because of the bugs, right, it comes back to location. So the second con or thing to think about is the location of where we are. So let's pull up a map of the country. Right in the middle, you got Missouri. On one side is Kansas City. The other side is St. Louis. Go to the middle, go down. That's where you're gonna find the lake. And at the end of the day, folks, it's just a big old lake in the middle of nowhere, right? It's a flooded mountain range. It's nature. It's remote. And I think that could be a con for some people. We have conversations about, hey, what's around there? What's the city like? Or what's the downtown like? And there's not. There's not a downtown area. There's not major nightlife. Like there's a lot of bars and restaurants and definitely things to do. But listen, at the end of the day, there's nothing around. And so sometimes that can be a negative for people. They want more, right? Like big sporting events and shopping centers and, nightlife and art center and a plethora of things to do. And hey, at the end of the day, you got St. Louis and you got Kansas City about a couple hours away. So as much as being remote could be a con, it could also not be a con, right? You have a little bit of separation, a little peace, a little tranquil vibe. And if you want big city life, then hey, it's just a quick 2-hour trip. So go take your trip, have your nightlife, have your big city fun, hit your sporting event, but then you get to come back to the lake. So con, pro, I don't know, but it's got to be something to think about, right? You are more remote, more country living than you are in those big city environments. So because you're in the country, because you're in remote living, number 3 on a con to think about is gonna be the roadways and traveling around the lake, okay? So some people are surprised when they come down here that it's curvy and very steep hills and gravel roads, and your driveways are very steep. Like there are some super sketchy driveways that you will pucker up when you go down, or some roads where you're like, you might get caught off guard a little bit if you're not paying attention. And so sometimes we're cruising around our, I don't know, metropolitan cities that are all gridded and laid out very nicely, and you come down to the Ozarks and you get a kick of kind of reality, or what does driving around this mountainous kind of area look like. There are no straight roads, okay? Everything is curvy, has hills, some gravel, and especially your property, right? So just think about this mountain range area with hills and valleys and all of this stuff that's around, and they flooded that area. So the water level comes up to the middle of the mountain, let's say, 3/4 up, however you want to play it. But the roadways around the lake are going to be curvy. And then when you're on the main road and you're dropping into your property, you got to think like you're up here and you're making your way down to your property. And then once you get to your driveway, you make another steep incline. And so they always talk about the unicorns being the flat properties around the lake. If you need a flat lot, you better start searching now, because they don't come up very often. And when they do, they're hot. People would like to have that flat property, and they exist, right? It's just not the norm. The norm and what to expect is curvy, very steep roads, very steep driveways, and navigating what that looks like on an everyday basis. So some people are surprised by it and kind of caught off guard, which is why we wanted to bring it up. Number 3 is going to be the roadways and traveling around the lake. Another con to think about when you're in this area, and because it's remote and it's mountainous and it's hilly and it's terrainy, depending on who you are and your reason for being down here, is a lot of people need to have data access, right? So you got to have a phenomenal cell phone signal. You have to have strong Wi-Fi. And if you're not careful and you're not paying attention to that, you might find a property that is a little too far out or nestled into some weird valley that when you show up, you have no bars on your cell phone and the Wi-Fi connection isn't as strong as you need it. And so if you work remotely and you have to be on Zoom calls and you have to have quick data and access, it's got to be something to think about and something that we can help you with. There are satellite-based Wi-Fi, and I've tried that, right? It works. It's spotty in my opinion. It's not as reliable as having a hard line coming from the road into your property with your router that's spreading Wi-Fi around your property. And so we would want to make sure that if that is a need and something that you have to have on an everyday basis, then it's got to be something to think about, because the con is it's not normal, right? The con is that when you're down here, you're going to have spotty Wi-Fi, spotty cell phone signal, but especially at your property, I would hate for anybody to buy something, come down here and realize that, Como, which is the lake's kind of, high-speed internet line into your house, they're not everywhere, right? So they're still building their infrastructure around the lake. And so if you need that, then we have to make sure that you're in an area where they service, okay? So number 4, wherever we're at on the list, is going to be your Wi-Fi signal and cell phone coverage. Hey, another kind to think about, and maybe number 5 or whatever on our list, is going to be, kind of around the location, but really the why behind a lot of things around this lake. So this is a tourist destination. So for the majority of it, your Memorial Day to Labor Day is your peak season. Okay, so that's where this influx of tourism comes into this area, and families or people or friends or whatever it is, right? They're coming down for some type of short-term vacation, and that could be a con. And you're gonna have this influx of people coming down and having a good time or partying or causing disruption. That's a thing, right? You're gonna have a little bit more congestion out on the roadways, more congestion out on the water. You're gonna have busier restaurants, busier bars, and it's just food for thought, right? It's kind of like living in a college town. And I've been in that world before where, as soon as college starts or school starts, right, you have this influx of kids. It clogs kind of things up for a little bit, and then when school is out, kids leave, and it kind of calms down and is more peaceful. And that's something to expect here. Now, that could be a con, it could be a pro, right? Some people might like the energy because there's some really good energy from that peak season they might like that energy. Or you might work in maybe the hospitality business and you need that influx of tourism. Like at the end of the day, the tourism is what drives this lake. It's what, keeps it around, and it survives off of tourism dollars. And so, it just depends on, again, who you are, what you want, the why for coming down here. You will have this influx of tourism in that peak season, and then they'll all kind of go away after Labor Day. Something to think about. And I guess along the same token with influx of tourism in season, another con is a lot of times your bars, your restaurants, the lakeside restaurants, some other entertainment that we enjoy during those summertime months. A lot of times those places shut down during the wintertime. So a con is, hey, I really enjoy this establishment. I love the food. I love the vibe. I love the people. But after, Labor Day or into October, eventually they shut down for the entire winter. And so sometimes we hear that, winters could be maybe a little boring, and, there's not enough to do, or there's, again, those places that kind of shut down. And, I think that could be a con, again, if you really enjoyed those places. But, ultimately when that peak season kind of over, it kind of gives locals a chance to take a breath and just relax and enjoy, local community instead of tourism community. And so things to think about, right? Again, if you're enjoying those things and they shut down, that's a bummer. It could be a little bit more calm and peaceful during the wintertime. Remember, like, the weather here is not going to be, a lot of snow and a lot of ice and like sub-zero temperatures. And so it is what you make of it. Even though, maybe some of those places kind of close down, you almost kind of feel like you have the lake back to yourself again. And so getting out and exploring and hitting trails and hikes and biking and still doing outdoor activities in the wintertime is still a thing. So kind of a con, kind of flipped it to a pro, shocker, but something to think about. Places and establishments will shut down during that winter season. So also along the side of, tourism and establishments shutting down, another con to think about is going to be job opportunities. And, we talk to a lot of people. So the majority, I would say, are, folks that are retired. And so they're looking to live out their retirement years here at the lake. So maybe not too big of an issue. Others, need work in order to, obviously afford livability. And so with that, if you're coming down, there's just probably not as many job opportunities as there would be in those big cities. So again, major metropolitan areas are going to have, a lot of tech industry and, obviously a whole bunch of stuff. Down here, maybe more labor driven, tourism driven, things of that. So there are plenty of jobs, but depending on, again, who you are, what you're looking for, they could be a little bit more sporadic, or they might not come available as much. If you do get into that hospitality business and, again, tourism is going to leave, and so maybe you're at an establishment that shuts down during the wintertime, you might need to flip to another seasonal type job, right? So there's a lot of seasonal employment, I guess, which could be looked at as a con. Depends again on who you are and what you need. There are some flip sides to that where, hey, I don't need to work full time, but I actually enjoy picking up a shift once in a while at a bar or a restaurant or a lakeside, whatever, just because I enjoy the community, I enjoy the people, and it gives me something to do. So anyway, things to think about, right? Tourism, job opportunities, they're going to fluctuate back and forth. Could be a con, could be a negative, something to think about. So again, folks, look, I don't think there is any place in the country, I don't think there's, no matter where you live, that you're not going to have some negatives and some cons. And some things to consider. What I do know is a lot of times when we're talking to folks, there are things that they haven't thought of or they haven't considered, which is why we kind of put this in there. And I goof and I joke around a lot. Hey, there are some bugs and there's some creepy and crawlies, and those are definitely something that you're going to have to get either comfortable with or figure out how to navigate, or maybe it's just too much for you and you can't handle it. But you are more remote. So we are in the middle of the woods, the middle of the mountains. It's just a lake in the middle of nowhere. And so you're going to have more nature and more things to kind of navigate. You're in this mountainous terrain, and so your roadways are curvy and steep and gravel. Your driveway is going to be steep. If you're in that retirement stage, we want to make sure you're in a property that you're going to be able to navigate. So that's something to think about. And depending on where you're at in the lake, Wi-Fi signal and cell coverage is a thing. We want to make sure that you're buying a property that either has Como or you're cool with whatever satellite driven Wi-Fi you have. That's going to be thing. And look at the majority of people are coming into this area because of tourism. They love the lake life. They want to come down and visit, but sometimes that's a con for the locals. And having this influx of people causes congestion, causes busier restaurants, busier roadways, busier waterways, but that's what drives this area. So if you are also looking for an employment, that's going to be a thing to think about. You might be into an establishment that's going to shut down during the wintertime. Again, peak season is really Memorial Day to Labor Day, and a lot of those other establishments are going to shut down during the wintertime. And so some stuff to think about as you're starting to navigate it. Again, I say it all the time. I love these videos. I love trying to answer some questions. I would love to help you with any of your other needs in trying to figure out, hey, is this a good place to retire, relocate, move my family, whatever that is, right? Don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. So shoot me a call, a text, an email. I would love to jump on a Zoom call with you, whatever I can do to help you out in your relocation or purchase or whatever your needs are here at the lake. I would love to do that, right? So until then, we'll just see you on the next video. Bye.